This video was requested by my mother. We don't really need any preamble today, do we? Everything sucks. Everything's shut down, we can't go see friends and family, and we're all expected to just work from home like everything's normal. And it's not. It sucks. Everything sucks. And the one and only thing that is keeping me sane right now is delicious food. But sometimes food is kind of hard to maintain, it's like, oh, cool, I found this recipe on Pinterest. Oh no, it serves 18, what do I do? Or like, some food just doesn't travel well from the restaurant to your house, some things you don't even know if you can reheat it, but you can. I am the one that legends foretold. The reheat queen. I don't care what you have, I can reheat it and make it taste delicious. I will make the disclaimer that not everything I'm going to teach you will make the food as delicious as it was when it was completely fresh. That's just impossible. It's not gonna happen unless it's lasagna. That's always better the second day. These are in no way infallible methods. I just want to help people make the most of all of their leftovers that they're trapped in their house with, so that at least while we're all in lockdown, we can still eat the things that we like, which is like the one luxury we can still try and give ourselves. Hi, Editing Sarah here. I just wanted to quickly say that yes, I am ordering some food just to show how to store it and reheat it. However, I am not going to be purposefully ruining any food. I'm going to try and talk about what can happen if you don't transport or store or cook foods properly, but I just don't find it productive or respectful to order a bunch of food from restaurants just to make them too greasy or burn them. So sorry, I won't have any footage of what goes wrong, which in this kind of video could actually be very helpful, but I'm not going to just wreck food for this video. Also, I'm not going to upload a lot of clips of me eating because I don't like people watching me eat. Okay, back to the video. Section 1. Takeout. So before we even think about reheating, we need to go where it all starts, getting the food from the restaurant to your home. Sometimes certain foods will be delicious at the restaurant, but they just don't travel very well, and they get really soggy on the way home. You can help combat this by, first of all, removing anything that is stacked on top of the burgers, like I'm doing here with my In-N-Out. Burgers served in open or half-open wrappers can be kept not so soggy so long as nothing is covering them, and so long as the bag is open so heat can escape. But if you go somewhere where the burger is wrapped completely, I suggest occasionally flipping the burger or sandwich. Grease and moisture will drip downwards inside of the package, so flipping the burger or sandwich, rotating it every time you're at a red light, can help the bread from getting really gross while you're in the car. Rices and pastas don't need a lot of special care. The humidity in the container will actually keep it moist and delicious. The same with soups. Cold salads are fine. Vegetables in general are usually fine. Anything fried needs to be moved around, excluding fried rice. I'm talking fried chicken, french fries, onion rings, takoyaki, fried pickles. Anything breaded is prone to sogginess in transit. I suggest opening the container in the car to keep moisture from getting trapped and wrecking your food. I also suggest not only flipping your food like we did with the burgers and sandwiches, but also moving the pieces around. Just do it, again, at red lights, or have a passenger in the car do it, and your food will be nice and crisp by the time you get home. Now, for those of you who are maybe immunocompromised or otherwise afraid to leave the house and would rather have food brought to you, this is actually something that happened this week. I ordered tacos. I didn't ask the guy to do this. This is just what happened. He actually sent the entire order with all of the ingredients separate. So like the meat in a little plastic reusable container, lettuce in its own container, and so on. So maybe you could ask your delivery driver to do something like this. It is possible. So just throwing that out there. Section 2. Storage. For almost everything, it's usually okay to just stick it in a bag or some sort of Tupperware or glass containers for anyone out there who has bad reactions to BPA. However, there are some ways that I have learned to store food that makes it easier and tastier to eat another day. If you're storing a burger or sandwich to reheat it later, you have to store the elements separately. This excludes grilled cheese, which should be stored and then reheated as if it were a piece of bread, which we'll get back to later. Many burgers or sandwiches are prone to sogginess both while traveling and with storage. One way you can avoid this is to ask for your ketchup, mustard, secret sauce, etc. to be on the side. That way you can add it yourself, and when you're ready to store the food, you won't have to scrape it off the patty or the bread. Trust me, I have tried reheating burgers with ketchup, mustard, or other sauces on it, and it does not end well. It smells really bad. It also helps with keeping the bun from getting soggy, which yes, you can store and also reheat later. So, patty by itself, bread by itself, veggies by themselves. Fried or grilled onions should also be scraped off and stored separately. Plastic or glass products work well, and if you want to keep your bread fresh, I would actually suggest wrapping it either in the paper wrapping the burger or sandwich came in, or in some sort of parchment paper before putting all the parts in the fridge. I know it seems like a lot of effort now, but trust me, tomorrow's you will thank me. When you're storing the parts of a taco, I also recommend separating the food groups and storing them in different containers. Same goes for sandwiches. However, if none of the parts of the sandwich need to be reheated, you can always just take the bread off and keep all the innards together. Styrofoam containers are preferable if you have something like fried chicken or fried pickles, or some kind of paper or cardboard is also good. Section 3. Reheating.
Do you want to know the secret? It's water. You have to add water.
So let's get into specifics, and please watch the whole section before attempting anything because I sometimes provide multiple methods. Pastas and rices. We can start with pasta and rice. When I say add water, different foods will need different treatment. The way that microwaves heat food is, to put it way too simply, by vibrating the molecules inside of the food to create friction, which makes heat. But sometimes during this process, moisture is lost. So to keep that from happening in food that has already been cooked, aka food that has already had a lot of moisture sucked out of it, we need to add water. When it comes to pastas or anything with sauce or cheese, adding water helps to keep the pasta or rice from frying and keeps the sauces from losing moisture or changing texture. Add the food to a microwave-safe bowl, then add water. You don't need a ton, just enough to be able to visibly see that you've added it to the mix. If you're blind or unsure of what my instructions mean, a good way to see if you've done it right will come up in just a second. Once you've stirred your food around to make sure the water is evenly distributed, make the food into the shape of an O. Sometimes when microwaving a dense hunk of food, you'll notice that the outsides will be burning hot, but the insides will be just as cold as when you put it in. Arranging the food in an O shape will help keep this from happening. If, like I said a second ago, you're blind or unsure if you're following my instructions for adding water, what you can do is make the O shape first, then add the water to the middle of the bowl. If you put your finger in the bowl, the water in the middle of the O shape should go up to about halfway up your fingernail. Unless you have a really huge plate and a lot of food, it should not go up past that first knuckle on your finger. If you put in too much, you can carefully pour it into the sink or dab it out with a paper towel, which, in my experience, can easily remove excess water without making too much of a mess, or sacrificing any of your delicious sauce. After that test, mix your food, make the O shape again, then follow the rest of my instructions. Once you've added your water and made an O shape, you're ready for the microwave. To further keep the moisture in, you could put a paper towel, napkin, or one of those plastic cover thingies over your food. If you're trying to conserve your paper products, like I know we all are, you can put it in without. Just be sure that you monitor the food carefully and add more water if needed. Microwave your dish for 35 seconds. Stir it, rearrange it into the shape of an O, then do it again for 45 seconds. If you are cooking a very small portion, so say like a child or toddler size bowl, maybe go for 25 seconds at most. Then if it's still not hot enough, do increments of 15 seconds. This may seem overly laborious, but heating something in the microwave in bursts helps you monitor the temperature and the moisture to make sure that you're not drying out or overcooking your food. This is the best method I have. 35 seconds, then increments of 45 seconds, and possibly adding more water until the food is to your liking. If you're making something very dense, like say a lasagna or a casserole, I would suggest cutting it into halves or even into quarters or smaller pieces, sprinkling water on top of it, and then giving it enough extra water that it makes a thin layer at the bottom of the plate. If your sauce has any meatballs or any meats of that size, I recommend cutting them in half and to let the water get in as you're stirring it around. I have tested this method with marinara sauce, mac and cheese, alfredo sauce, pesto sauce, marsala sauce, tikka masala sauce, goulash, fried rice, red beans and rice, etouffee, jambalaya, and lasagna. This method is also what I use to reheat chili and taco meat, any meat that's been covered in some kind of sauce or spices can use some gentle water treatment to keep it from drying out or losing its flavor. I will warn you that some thicker sauces will try and give you sass, like this creamy vodka sauce is here. Some sauces are so thick that they'll actually solidify when you store them, and when you try and add water and then heat them up, it'll look really weird like this, like the elements in the sauce are actually starting to separate. If this happens to you, I promise it is still perfectly edible. All you need to do is mix it so that it goes back to a good consistency. Let's move on to the next section, which is meat by itself. Let's start with eggs. Hard-boiled eggs can be reheated, even though eating them cold is very tasty. If you want to put them in the microwave, use a toothpick or a fork to poke holes all the way to the center yolk so that while it's cooking, hot air can escape and the egg won't explode. Please do not cook it for more than increments of like 10 or 15 seconds. That's all it needs. Hard-boiled eggs are very easily explodable. And if you really want that hard-boiled egg heated but don't want to use the microwave, you can always boil it for a little bit on the stove. Scrambled eggs should be reheated as you would rice, mixing it with water to make sure that it doesn't get dried out. And as for fried or sunny-side up eggs, reheat them as you would in this next segment, but still poking holes in the yolk area to avoid explosions or messy cleanup. For any meats that have been fried or breaded, you're going to have to wait until the fried food section, which will be later. Any sort of big piece of meat, so like a burger patty, fish, a slice of ham, those can easily become dried out or fried or rubbery. What I do for these is I put them on a plate by themselves and have them not submerged, but sitting in water. After 25 seconds in the microwave, I will flip it to keep the water on both sides, then continue to cook it this way until the meat is fully cooked. Once the food is ready, you can drain out the water or transfer the meat to a new plate to enjoy. Chicken, add water. Meatballs, add water. I don't know how many more times I'm going to say that you need to add water in this video, but get used to it because you need to add water. This is the one thing I need you to take away from this video, is that water is magical and you need to use it. Veggies. Add water, towel over it, blah 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 blah. My one extra bit of advice is that with things like peas or beans, it might be better to add a lot more water than we had before. Not enough that they're swimming in the bowl, but definitely more than you'd need for rice or pasta. After heating that, you can always drain the water and enjoy. This does not apply to veggie casseroles. Those should be heated up like the pasta or rice segment. Mashed potatoes need both water and butter. Keep stirring after small bursts of heating and it should be fine. My sister-in-law also just suggested to me that you add a bit of milk to reheat it, so you can also try that. We'll get to burgers later, but if you have stored toppings of the burger separately from the burger as I recommended, I do not suggest heating most of them back up. So that's lettuce, tomatoes, things like that. When it comes to mushrooms or fried onions that came on top of the burger, do not submerge them in water like the peas or the beans. Instead, heat them as you would rice, adding a bit of water, making the O shape, etc. And don't worry, I'll re-say all this when we get to burgers. Soups. While you can definitely reheat soups in the microwave, I recommend reheating it on the stovetop after, of course, adding some water. If you go with the microwave, just remember to add some water and take out anything that might explode, like an egg, and remember to cut up any big pieces of meat. I've done this with run-of-the-mill soups like chicken noodle or tomato, as well as ones that have a lot of different ingredients in them like ramen. I also recommend reheating wontons in water on a stovetop and then dabbing them dry with a towel before eating. Stews really only need to be covered to retain their moisture unless you notice that the meat looks dried out. Stews are very low maintenance. It should just pop in the microwave and be fine. Fried things. Now there are 3 ways to reheat things that have been fried. The oven, the toaster oven, and the toaster. Let's begin with egg rolls because they're the most frustrating food when it comes to trying to reheat them. We have all tried reheating egg rolls in the microwave and it just does not work. If it doesn't explode, then it turns into this soggy mess, any meat inside is dried out and nasty. The best way to reheat them is to put them in the toaster. I usually set it to medium heat, so about 150 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit or about 93 degrees Celsius. Be warned, smaller egg rolls will fall in, and if you need to reach in, use wooden utensils, not metal, please. Also, do not turn your toaster sideways. I have seen so many videos instructing you to do this to like make grilled cheese or paninis, and it is dangerous. The crumbs from the bottom of the toaster will collect near the burning hot coils and could potentially start a house fire. So please only turn on your toaster if it is upright. While we're still talking about the toaster, you can also use it to heat up things without necessarily putting them in. With really big egg rolls that can't fit, you can just turn the toaster on like normal and let the egg roll lie at the top of the coils. If you do this, just remember to rotate the egg roll occasionally so the heat is evenly distributed. I've done this with leftover egg rolls and also Texas toast. Fried chicken, fish sticks, french fries, fried whatever can be reheated in the oven or the toaster oven. I personally don't go above 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 93 degrees Celsius because I always forget what I'm doing and burn everything. But you can also go with a temperature above 300 degrees, and if your oven has a broil setting, that works wonderfully. The crispier the bread, the more carefully you need to watch it, and if you're afraid of drying it out, you can always spritz it with a little bit of water, or you can put the food on a plate under a damp cloth for 10 minutes or so while you wait for the oven to heat up, and that'll give your food some moisture without overdoing it. Any old oven sheet will do, but if you're afraid of your food being too greasy, you can do what I did here and use a metal cookie sheet to lift the food off the oven sheet to let it cook that way. You are blind or just unsure if your food is reheating properly, the way that you can tell if things are working is if you can start to hear a faint sizzling sound. I tried to capture it here. Please do not touch the food while it's in the oven or on the toaster or in the toaster oven. Please, 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 please. Instead, use tongs or other utensils to move it to a plate where you can safely feel the food with your fingers and listen to it. Using these methods, I have successfully reheated fried chicken, fried crawfish, french fries, fried pickles, chips, taco shells, fish sticks, bacon, and takoyaki. If you have something that's very lightly breaded, like the kind of fish you get with fish and chips, I would actually first use the meat method using water in the microwave and then frying it to crispify the breading. Tacos. Just to reiterate what I said earlier about tacos, you should store the food groups separately and reheat them based on their needs. For taco shells, I recommend standing them upright on the lips and setting the oven to about 150. Monitor them closely and take them out when they start to slightly sizzle. Taco shells are very thin, so please be gentle with them while they are cooking. If you want to avoid dealing with hard shells, I would recommend ordering something that comes with soft tacos and asking for extra tortillas on the side. That way you can put them inside to fresh tortillas the next day. Heat up the tortilla meat the way that you would rice. Make sure that you use plenty of moisture so it doesn't lose its flavor. Tortillas should be heated up separately. No water needed, just pop them in the microwave for like 15 seconds or so wrapped in a paper towel, then reheat the other parts separately, combine them, and enjoy. One Mexican food that doesn't require any work at all is burritos. Especially bean burritos, and especially burritos that include no lettuce. Just pop it in the microwave for 35 seconds. That's it. No water needed. If there's any meat you're worried about, you can always reheat that separately, but yeah. Burritos are your best bet if you want something very low maintenance. Pizzas and breads. I think we've talked enough about adding water so far to know what is needed here. However, instead of putting water on the pizza or bread itself, we're going to put it in the microwave in a plastic cup. This will add moisture to the air to keep the pizza or bread from drying out. If you're working with an especially thin piece of bread or pizza, I recommend putting the pizza and the cup of water in the microwave for 25 seconds at most. Put the pizza or bread or grilled cheese or whatever on a paper towel to keep excessive moisture and grease from being trapped underneath it, pop it in there, heat it up, and enjoy. You can also do this for cookies and brownies, and even more cakey things like banana bread, cornbread, or French toast. I have not attempted this with deep dish pizza, but I'm sure so long as you cook it in small bursts to check on the moisture, you can reheat it just as well. When it comes to waffles, unless they're really thick Belgian waffles, you can just pop those back in the toaster for a little bit, not the full timer temperature you use to cook them, but just long enough to heat them up and remind them how to be a waffle. If you're working with like really thick waffles or pancakes, here's what you do. Wrap and layer the cakes in paper towels and microwave them for maybe 25 seconds. The thicker they are, the more helpful the cup of water will be. They should be fine after 25 seconds, but try not to heat more than 3 up at a time. Burgers and sandwiches. Okay, we've left the most complicated for last, which is burgers and sandwiches. Now, hopefully you followed my overly complicated instructions for storage from earlier, because we are about to see the fruits of our labor. Each part of the burger needs to have its own kind of love. Sometimes the lettuce will be wet while in the fridge, so if you don't like that, you can always dry it out on top of a paper towel or dish towel while you work on the other steps. If your burger or sandwich had sautéed mushrooms or fried onions, heat them as you would rice, adding water, making an O shape, and so on to heat them up for your burger without drying them out. Any grilled toppings, even if they were covered in barbecue sauce or something else, can be heated as we did with the chicken or the fried pickles. If it is covered in sauce, just heat it in small increments and keep an eye on it. They won't turn out as crispy as they were before, but they will still be very yummy. The way that I like to reheat the bun for a burger is with the toaster, as I'm showing here. I like my bread crispy, but if you don't, you can just as easily reheat it in the microwave with a cup of water like we did earlier with the pizza. Or just let your bun sit out and reach room temperature while you're cooking. When you're reheating a patty, you want it not fully submerged, but rather sitting in water, which definitely sounds and looks gross, but it keeps the meat from being dried out and becoming rubbery. Remember that because we are reheating, it will not exactly match the flavor of the day before. But if you do want to add a more meaty taste, you can heat it up with a bit of water and beef broth if you have it. So take the patty, put it in water, cover it, into the microwave, and then heat it up in small increments until it's fully cooked. Once you're done, you can rebuild your burger and enjoy. Hello, my hair is different now. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I've never made anything like this before, and I probably never will again, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I really just wanted to make something that, I don't know, could help. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thanks so much. Stay safe. Bye.